All right. Welcome back, Team TWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn. Y'all already know what time it is. It's 10 a.m. on a Saturday. If not, it'll be 10 a.m. on Sunday or 6 p.m. on Wednesday, aka another day in paradise. Those are times you should know to come look for your boy, because if I ain't live, it should be something wrong. Hell, because, consistent corns in the building. This where we gonna be to do RTHIN to the G. Anyways, y'all know we got some videos to talk about, some other stuff to do. We are currently now working on our side note playlist. Shout out to homework playlist. Y'all still see a couple more shorts for a couple more days for that playlist. But then we're gonna be switching over to this playlist because it's 2026 in my head. So we don't wait to get to the next project. We just go ahead and start it. You see what I'm saying? We know where we're going. So we know how to get there. In other words, for some people, they don't know how to transition. It's called transitioning. We transition and adapt very well. Some people don't. Some people don't want to. So, yeah, either way, we gonna do what we do, right? He said, I don't know what you gonna do, but I know what I'm gonna do. And what he say? It's gonna be trouble, trouble. Anyways, let's see. Appreciate the big homie for making me an intro and an outro and whatever other beat that he'll make, because, they could all be used by me at any point in time. Yeah, if I like it, I'll put it in my daily listening activities. Bars, what up, big homie? Appreciate you stopping by.
Oppose it, while moderates, independents, and non-LDS voters support. Two of Utah's top political leaders oppose recreational marijuana. The Senate president says Utah already.
Lots of folks come out in support of full legalization. And now the polls are overwhelming. It's absolutely clear. America wants legal herb. And this will be a big issue for voters in the next elections, both state and federal, because this rescheduling move could be the push that's finally needed to force full legalization.
How would Americans feel about it being rescheduled?
Yeah, this would be some of the best politics that Donald Trump has done in a long period of time if, in fact, the U.S. decides to reschedule marijuana. Why do I say this? Take a look here. Say marijuana should be legal. Look at the time spent and look at how much higher and higher and higher favoring Americans have in terms of legalizing marijuana. Look at this. In 1969, it was just 12%. In 85, 23%. 20 years ago, it was 36%. Look at this, nearly double from where we were just 20 years ago in terms of the percentage of Americans who say that marijuana should in fact be legalized in the country. 64%, 2 in 3 Americans. You rarely get 2 in 3 Americans to agree on anything, but they do in fact agree that marijuana should be legal. Okay,
this is how people feel about it and the popularity of this move. But over the years, if you put aside the popularity, how has usage changed and shifted?
Yeah, it's the same trend line. It turns out that Americans have increasingly been saying Tootsie Tootsie goodbye, have ever used marijuana. Look at this. In 1969, 4%. 1985, 33%. 1999, 34%. Then you look in 2024, nearly half of Americans now have at least used marijuana one time, and the percentage who say they're using it right now is also near record highs. And Kate, I will note when I said that Tootsie Tootsie goodbye, I don't think you quite got the reference. It's a reference to Primary Colors, a film.
Okay, thank you so much.
Now guys, the numbers are there for everyone to see. The reefer madness population is declining while the number of folks that actually are open to legalization or in fact do use the good herb is increasing. And that's a good thing. And by the way guys, happy holidays. And something that I noticed over my holiday celebrations is that when I had family and friends weekends over
What
on
up, Dale?
Christmas
Good to
Eve,
see you. How you
no
doing?
one, absolutely no one drank any
Go
alcohol.
check out Dale
I
Gray.
bought like 15
Great
beers and no one
supporter.
drank any
Appreciate
of them,
you.
including myself. And that goes to show that more and more folks are in favor of the good herb rather than drinking alcohol. The alcohol consumption is in decline. It's in free fall. And that's why some of these industries are absolutely shaking in their boots. They're losing profits. But what's really good to see is despite the fact that more and more Americans are drinking less, it does not necessarily equate to more reefer madness. What it does equate to is that more and more folks are open to the idea of legalization, and that's absolutely clear from this poll. And according to this, a bipartisan majority of Americans support rescheduling and say it has medical value. And this is a big change from times past when the good herb was placed squarely in category 1, schedule 1, which basically means that it has no accepted medical benefits. So with this massive change and seeing politicians on both sides use legalization as a ploy, as the carrot being dangled to gather votes, what I can say is that the next elections, both state and federal, this issue will be a lot bigger than folks think. Have a look.
President Trump has just made the biggest change in marijuana policy in 55 years. He's taken pot from a Schedule 1 drug to a Schedule 3 drug, meaning it's gone from the company of heroin to the company of Tylenol with codeine. Still, marijuana is illegal in the state of Idaho, and it's headed for a major collision at the ballot box. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris, and a citizen-led initiative intends to legalize medical marijuana. But the legislature, they have also introduced a constitutional amendment that, if passed, would nullify your voice and your vote. It's the legislature versus the people of Idaho in the battle over legalizing medical marijuana.
We are doing some polling right now, and there's strong indications that there is very strong support in the conservative space for this across the states.
That's Amanda Watson, spokesperson for the Natural Medicine Alliance of Idaho. Her group is collecting signatures for an initiative that would legalize medical marijuana only.
Ours is a very, very restrictive law. It's not like some of the ones that we've seen before. So we're hoping that it covers kind of the concerns of the GOP, and then we also can treat people who've been struggling, you know.
In recent years, multiple attempts to legalize marijuana by a group called Kind Idaho failed. So they're ending their efforts and joining forces with the alliance, which has more resources.
So what we may see across multiple states, in particular those currently prohibition states, is that this executive order to reschedule the good herb from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 could be the push that they need to finally force some form of legalization, whether it's medical or full recreational. But it is a big move because Americans across multiple states are in favor of legalization. I mean, it's about time. And the truth is, politicians have been running on this issue for a long time now. So let's take it back to 2020, before the 2020 election, because this issue is also at the forefront of a lot of voters' mind, especially when it came to the Democrat candidates. Check it out.
Nevertheless, most 2020 presidential hopefuls are in favor of legalization in some form or another. The support comes from both progressives and moderates. President Trump has also noted his supports for states to decide what they want to do. Earlier, my colleague Alex Dennis spoke to Mona Zhang. She's editor of Word on the Tree. They talked about how 2020 Democratic stances on marijuana differ.
I mean, they're all pretty much for legalization. This is the real first presidential election you're seeing where so many candidates are talking about this issue so openly and saying that they support legalization on the federal level.
So we're seeing that an increasing number of Americans support marijuana legalization, really across all ages. It's even the first time a majority of Republicans have now supported legalization in a CBS News poll that we had here. So do you think that this has caused a significant shift? What has caused that shift?
I think you've seen societal attitudes towards marijuana policy shift tremendously, in large part because so many states have legalized it. And I think voters see, well, you know, Colorado legalized it years ago and the sky hasn't fallen and there's nothing terrible happening in society because there's a cannabis dispensary down the street. So there's this societal shift, and also the voting public.
Lots of folks.
Well, damn, I done did that shit again. Let's see.
Use legalization as a ploy, as the carrot being dangled to gather votes. What I can say is that the next elections, both state and federal, this issue will be a lot.
The concerns of the GOP, and then we.
But anyways, Hot topic. They always doing that shit. She said there's not gonna be too much of a difference with there being a dispensary down the street. Nah, because this shit's been sold illegally for years. So, like they said, if you don't want to fund terrorist organizations, pay your taxes. Because we know that they are a terrorist organization too. So, shouts out to them. Hell.
Also,
Nobody worse than the R, and the S right upstate. Get to see how you doing.
Multiple attempts to legalize marijuana by a group called Kind Idaho failed. So they're ending their efforts and joining forces with the alliance, which has more resources.
What we may see across multiple states, in particular those currently prohibition states, is that this executive order to reschedule the good herb from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 could be the push that they need to finally force some form of legalization, whether it's medical or full recreational. But it is a big move because Americans across multiple states are in favor of legalization. I mean, it's about time. And the truth is, politicians have been running on this issue for a long time now. So let's take it back to 2020, before the 2020 election, because this issue is also at the forefront of a lot of voters' mind, especially when it came to the Democrat candidates. Check it out.
Nevertheless, most 2020 presidential hopefuls are in favor of legalization. In some form or another, the support comes from both progressives and moderates. President Trump has also noted his supports for states to decide what they want to do. Earlier, my colleague Alex Dennis spoke to Mona Zhang. She's editor of Word on the Tree. They talked about how 2020 Democratic stances on marijuana differ.
I mean, they're all pretty much for legalization. This is the real first presidential election you're seeing where so many candidates are talking about this issue so openly and saying that they support legalization on the federal level.
So we're seeing that an increasing number of Americans support marijuana legalization, really across all ages. It's even the first time a majority of Republicans have now supported legalization in a CBS News poll that we had here. So do you think that this has caused a significant shift? What has caused that shift?
I think you've seen societal attitudes towards marijuana policy shift tremendously, in large part because so many states have legalized it. And I think voters see, well, you know, Colorado legalized it years ago and the sky hasn't fallen and there's nothing terrible happening in society because there's a cannabis dispensary down the street. So there's this societal shift, and also the voting public tends to be ahead of policymakers on this issue. So I think this push is largely, you know, from the voters pressing lawmakers to become more liberal on the issue.
So voters have been making their voices clear for such a long time now. And I clearly remember before the 2020 election, legalization was a big issue that the Democrats ran on. And turns out that while the rescheduling process was started, it was not actually completed. So seeing now that President Trump for the Republican Party is finally directing and taking steps to have that rescheduling process completed, I think it's a big move. But the truth is, no matter how you split it and no matter what state you're looking at, the voters are way ahead of the lawmakers when it comes to the policy changes surrounding the good herb. All the polls show that America just wants legal herb. Check it out.
According to a new UNF poll, it is clear the majority of those questioned are in favor of legalizing marijuana. According to Dr. Michael Bender, who led the research, 66% of the respondents indicated they would vote in favor of legalizing marijuana. 30% say they would vote against it, and 4% say they did not know how they would vote in the next election. The amendment is spearheaded by Smart and Safe Florida, with major backing from the company TruLeaf and from other medical marijuana providers like INSA. We talked to the co-founder of the company, Peter Gallagher.
I think there were a lot of misperceptions the last time around. And I think if you look at the ballot initiative this time around, some of the language has been a little bit more carefully crafted, to address some of the concerns that people had.
So that was over in Florida, and they support recreational herb. And recently, we've seen Amendment 3 fail, which was a measure intended to legalize recreationally over in Florida. But it was just a bad bill. If signed into law, it would have prohibited home grows and, in effect, monopolized the market. But the point is that in states like Florida and even Utah, folks want legal herb. The polls are overwhelming.
A new poll has some surprising results about Utah's feelings on cannabis.
I think it's important to know where we are as a state.
I'm Ben Winslow on Utah's Capitol Hill. The poll was actually commissioned by a group supporting medical cannabis, but it asked about people's feelings about legalizing recreational marijuana.
It's so much better.
Chad Dennison is a medical cannabis patient.
I broke my back jumping at the airplanes for the Army and also have been diagnosed with severe PTSD and major depressive disorder from my time in Afghanistan.
He says cannabis has helped him quit taking a lot of pills that didn't make him feel good.
Just amazed how much it actually helped.
Utah voters legalized medical cannabis in 2018 after a citizen ballot initiative. The legislature then implemented a tightly controlled program. But a new survey finds a majority of Utahns, 52%, would support a ballot initiative to legalize recreational cannabis. 38% would oppose it.
So we've heard a lot about patients and other folks who begrudgingly would like to go recreational because it's easier, because it makes access greater.
Alex Orge is with the group Keep Utah Medical, which paid for the poll. He's also a co-founder of Wholesome, a medical cannabis company, and worked on the Prop 2 campaign. But he doesn't support legalizing recreational marijuana. Here's why.
I don't think that there is that appetite quite yet. But if we don't get ahead of this, if we don't start looking at ways to improve our program, if we don't make it easier for patients to access medical cannabis here in our state, it will happen eventually. It's happened in every state around us that's passed a medical program.
The poll appears to be a warning to the Utah legislature over long-standing complaints about the state's program. A deeper dive into the poll shows legalizing recreational cannabis is not a slam dunk. Conservatives and Latter-day Saint voters largely oppose it, while moderates, independents, and non-LDS voters support. Two of Utah's top political leaders oppose recreational marijuana. The Senate president says Utah already has a program that's both effective and well-balanced, ensuring individuals suffering from chronic pain or serious illnesses have access while maintaining safeguards to prevent misuse of this drug. I oppose further expansion as our focus should be on what truly benefits our state and Utahns.
I know a lot of people can't afford get a medical card and carry a medical card and renew it every so often.
Despite the fact that a majority of Americans across multiple states are calling for full legalization, lawmakers are saying no, we know better, and that's not what you guys want, that's not what you guys need. We're going to tell you guys what's best for you. Now, I do want to show you guys a few more states where the polls are pretty surprising, but also show you guys a state in Alabama where they finally rolled out their medical program, but the patient eligibility is absolutely crazy. Over 60 doctors have taken a course that's needed to recommend the good herb in Alabama. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or cop some merch from our merch store. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics. Use the code LEGAL. It works on the bundo and the beans.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Crummell. Recreational marijuana is not legal in Pennsylvania, despite urging from Governor Shapiro and a majority of Democrats in the legislature. But that could change in the new year thanks to an unlikely advocate, President Trump. Dennis Owens joins us now to explain this one for us. Good afternoon, Dennis.
Good afternoon to you, James. Last week, the president issued an executive order moving marijuana from a Schedule 1 classified drug, which is highly addictive with not too much medical benefit, to a Schedule 3, which is less addictive with some medical benefit. Many see this as the president legitimizing marijuana, giving political cover for Republicans who have been resistant to supporting legalization. The executive order also calls for more solid research on the benefits and harms of marijuana, which John Gallagher is all for. He's a researcher and professor at Alvernia University and also an addiction specialist. He says more research is needed, and he won't wade into the political debate over whether to legalize it or not, but says the marijuana industry claims that it's not addictive is just not true.
I go back to the two things that we know without a doubt. Cannabis is absolutely...
I mean, we go back to people's hearing, oh, police sees 110 pounds. Now you got everybody from the community going back down to the police station like, hey, I'm going to need my cut of that 110 pounds. Hey, I will have to get my cut out of helping y'all handle doing something with that product, right? Right. So, yeah, y'all can bust the illegal guys. But if we legal and got my medical permit, let me come down here every time I hear y'all bust somebody with some weight. Hey, shit, Lord knows I'm gonna need my part of that piece of pie, right? Oh yeah, y'all call it illegal people trying to grow in houses. All right, bet. I'm gonna need my 15% of that product though, because you know that was 100 and something pounds, right?
An addicting drug for some, and cannabis absolutely has withdrawal symptoms for some people, become dependent on it.
Gallagher said it is appropriate that it was reclassified from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 because its addictiveness is not the same as those Schedule 1 drugs and is more moderate. James, he suspects Pennsylvania will ultimately legalize recreational marijuana, given that most of the states around us have already done so. He says there just hasn't been enough research on its medical benefits, and that will now come. And he just said, I want the information to be out there. You know, when Oxycontin, and he's not comparing Oxycontin to marijuana, but when it first came out, all the marketing was, it's not addictive, it's less addictive. Well, that was not true. And he says to suggest that it's not at all addictive is not true. Some 30% of folks can develop, who use it, can develop addiction to it. He has seen it, he has treated it.
So it's pretty interesting to see what effect this executive order could have on currently prohibition states, even Pennsylvania. Now we're going to hop over to Tennessee and North Carolina to see what they have to say about this whole thing. But first, let's head over to Alabama because they've rolled out their medical program and they have courses that doctors need to take to be able to prescribe the good herb. Have a look.
Dr. Marshall Walker's mother is thankfully now cancer-free. Walker says where her tumor was located made eating painful, but he says she was able to avoid a feeding tube and taking pain medicines that cause stomach bleeding and ulcers because she self-medicated with cannabis, purchased out of state where it was legal.
She thought that basically, damn the torpedoes. She was willing to face the legal consequences if they came, because her life was on the line.
After Alabama legalized medical cannabis in 2021, Walker says he took the State Medical Association's course that the Alabama Medical Licensure Board requires doctors to take before they can approve patient use. He's one of 60 doctors. According to the Medical Association, all the legal challenges with implementing medical cannabis created uncertainty, and they're anticipating renewed interest from doctors now that dispensary licenses have been awarded. 3 of the 4 dispensary operators are expected to receive their license in hand January 8th. An attorney for the state medical board says once that happens, their application process for doctors will go live.
So Alabama has a really strict medical program and a really strict stance when it comes to the good herb in general. And sticking with Alabama, just a couple days ago, a mother was charged after cannabis was allegedly discovered in students' holiday treats. Check it out.
Good evening. A class Christmas party ended with drugs in the hands of kindergarten students. This happened Thursday in Bruton after a mother gave out goodie bags filled with candy and police say marijuana crumbs.
Now, imagine that somebody's mama done fucking spiked the whole class's cookie party for Christmas. Yeah. It happens. Girls just want to have fun, right? That would be fun if I got your whole class high.
WEAR's Copeland Welch joining us. And Copeland, you spoke with the mother of a Bruton Elementary student who feels she's owed an explanation.
I sure did, and she's not happy with the response or lack of from the school district. Christy Quinn is the mother of a first grade student at Bruton Elementary, a small town where sharing with friends, even in other grades, is encouraged.
She's constantly giving something to another student or bringing something home from another student. So, yeah, she's big on the sharing.
But when social media posts revealed kindergartners were exposed to marijuana at a class Christmas party,
I had a little panic attack, because you're not expecting to wake up and see that.
The Christmas party happened last Thursday, but it wasn't till later that evening that a parent found particles of marijuana inside the goodie bag filled with wrapped candy that was sent home. Quinn tells us she's disappointed in the school district.
I was just a little irritated that the school didn't notify us, because they're really good about notifying about everything. And I'm just assuming that they just didn't want to alarm, a whole bunch of people.
Get about 5 emails a day from the school. Your kid made it to class. Your kid made it to the next class. Your kid's missing this 4th class of the day. How you make it to 4 out of 5 classes? I just said forget it and left early. How you don't not leave early, but then you was there for the 5th class though, because you missed class number 4, but you was at class number 5. I like class number 5, so I went back.
getting an uproar about it. But it would have been nice to have been notified. Yeah.
Now, in the past, we've seen instances where kids are accidentally at Halloween given some of these candies or edibles or gummies. But this situation was slightly different because there were crumbs of flour in a large bag which did have some legit candies. Now, another state which is similar to Alabama when it comes to its prohibitionist stance is Tennessee. And this rescheduling order could shake things up over in Tennessee. Have a look.
Republican State House Speaker Cameron Sexton saying there will have to be conversations about who manufactures it, who tests it, who distributes, which medical illness could it be used for, does this require FDA approval, and a host of other questions. House Majority Leader writing, Tennessee will continue to strictly regulate intoxicating substances to protect public health and safety, especially vulnerable populations. Any change in the federal drug schedule that acknowledges legitimate medical use based on scientific evidence will certainly be taken into consideration as we strive to form an appropriate legal framework for dangerous substances. Some Democrats saying this is a good change, but it doesn't nearly scratch the surface.
So rescheduling, reclassification is definitely going to shake things up across multiple states across America. And when the polls are overwhelmingly clear, it's going to be harder and harder to deny the people what they want, even in places like North Carolina.
In a bitterly divided state, there are not many topics that draw the majority of support from Republicans, Democrats, and unaffiliated voters, but medical marijuana legalization is one of them.
After years of trying many different pharmaceuticals and still being sick and still having almost no quality of life and being homebound for quite a while and a couple of years, I was desperate to try anything.
Corey Stahl has Crohn's disease. At the time, she was living in Colorado and started using medical marijuana, which provided great relief for her symptoms. Crohn's is one of the conditions that was covered under the North Carolina Compassionate Care Act, a 2023 bill that passed the state Senate but not the House. After moving to North Carolina, Corey and her husband Eric opened Modern Apotheca, a hemp dispensary.
What we try to help folks understand is that while medical marijuana is hopefully on the horizon, it can really help with people with next level diagnoses like Crohn's and colitis. The everyday aches and pains and sleep issues that so many of us have, CBD and THC are helpful for that.
Senator Greg Meyer supports medical marijuana legalization, but believes the state should go a step further.
I'm going to push full legalization. I don't think there's any reason to take the half step to medical. Medical actually costs us a ton of money to administer the program and might actually lose money. And people are ready for full legalization as long as we get good regulation.
He plans on filing a bill for recreational use this session, where he'll likely face pushback. Opponents have often cited safety concerns, a point brought up by Jordan Davidson, the government affairs manager for Smart Approaches to Marijuana. Davidson entered addiction recovery as a teenager for cannabis use disorder. While he and the group support criminal justice reform around the drug, they oppose any form of legalization.
But most Americans also don't want addiction for profit industries funded by big tobacco that are selling their products as just medicinal. We saw this with tobacco, doctors recommending cigarettes. We saw this with opioids, Purdue Pharma saying that they're less than 1% addictive. We saw it with marijuana.
So while the polls are clear and a majority of Americans across multiple states do favor legalization, there'll always be pushback, especially from some of these prohibitionist groups like SAM, Smart Approaches to Marijuana. But let me know what you guys think about all of this. Do Americans in fact favor legalization? Are you in favor of full legalization, or do you guys prefer that things remain the way they are? Because according to all the polls that we showed you guys, the numbers, they're clear. But drop your thoughts and concerns in the comment section down below. Now in our next video, there's been lots of concern when it comes to rescheduling and your Second Amendment right. And the Supreme Court, they're going to make a decision on that. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's coming up right now.
I'm weed's biggest hater. But of course I smoke weed because, you know, I only do it for the profit.
Okay, listen. I'm not selling weed, okay? Okay? But I can sell you the bomb. And the weed's free. Alright. That way I'm not dealing. You understand? Cool.
You can have some additives that you can use to kind of increase some of that health without getting too deep into a shameless plug for Stash Blend. Stash Blend now available in Canada. You know, you can look at using mycorrhizae for a little added protection or a little bit of stronger nutrient uptake. You can use silica for stronger cell and wall development in the stems, all added through directly. Yeah, your beneficials. Yep, that's right. Beneficial bacteria, all found in stash blend. All great ways to benefit your roots.
Well, and that's great for soil or for soilless medias, but then in hydro, it's still that temperature. Still, you're going to need that temperature low because adding microbes is difficult to keep live in, let's say, in an environment that you're going to be sterilizing. And you're killing this consistently. So it's like, there's products like Orca from Plant Success. That's like their liquid great white version, which does better. But if you're going there and you're running into issues, temperature's too hot, and you still potentially run into pathogens, you're going to end up putting bleach or H2O2 in there, and you're going to kill that colony that you just created. So it's like, that's my favoring of soil in cocoa versus water, so to speak, because I can have the microbial life to lean on. Mycorrhizae is my best friend. Enzymes to be, I mean, there's enzyme products that can help for your roots in TWC also, of course, but it's just that natural additives and natural help in the soil for me makes it so my root health I'm not as worried about. I haven't ran into things nearly as much since switching to organic. Nearly.
Yeah, and going from, you talk about some of the potential problems in deep water culture or hydroponics, root health, you could severely hurt your roots being in a plastic pot and letting it go root bound, right? And just talking about kind of what you can do to correct that, root pruning. Something that needs to be done from time to time, right? If you keep that if you keep it in that container for too long, well, those roots are just going to circle and circle around that plastic container. Nutrient uptake is going to be impacted. It's not going to be good at all. So when you're transplanting into a larger container, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll break up those roots on the bottom. Now, there are a lot of people out there that are maybe beginners or novice that are like, I don't want to damage the plant whatsoever. I don't want to do any harm. So they're like trying not to touch the roots whatsoever, and they're trying to be very careful when it comes to transplanting. Now, sometimes you need to rip away the bottom parts of the roots, because what happens if you just keep it root bound and you put it in that larger container, those roots don't expand to the new medium. And I've had plants before where that happened, and even after watering and stuff, it's like, why is this plant still struggling when I've already transplanted it? And you can actually feel it. When you lift it up, you can feel that things are kind of still concentrated in the middle of that bucket, in that container. And there might be moisture in the medium, and there might be nutrients in the medium, but the plant doesn't have access to them because that root zone was never broken up before transplant. It never expanded down in there. Now, I actually recently went from, it's been several months now, but earlier this year, I wanted to transfer out of a fabric grow pot. Some companies make the ones with the Velcro on the side. I had a 1 gallon container. You rip off the Velcro and then you can transplant from a fabric pot to a larger container. Well, if you veg a little too long, that transplant process can be very difficult. I had it on an auto watering system. It was on the tray to grow. So the roots were all the way down at the very bottom of it. And when I removed that plant from that container, the roots were just destroyed. I was like, kind of reeling away. The whole thing was just, the whole bottom was just completely torn off. And, I made a video on it, and it was like, I amp it up a little bit, right? You want to get people to click and kind of be enticed to click and learn more. So it was something disastrous. I forget what the exact title was, but some people actually clicked on that and said, I didn't even see a disaster happen in that. That's pretty normal. Like when you tear away the roots, sometimes your plant is even healthier after that. You see them grow even more after they've gone through that type of stress. And that's exactly what I saw in that case. So root pruning can be super, super beneficial and sometimes necessary when it comes to like transplanting out of these plastic containers that are root bound, for example.
Some habits die hard because I still, when I transplant from fabric pots, rip open the bottom of the root ball, I guess, and I rip that open when I put it into the new pot because I've already grown up, but learning how to grow in plastic pots, that was just the way you did it. You pulled it out, you rip the bottom, you put it in the next one, just to do everything you just said. So it's like I still do it, and I don't think it's necessary in a fabric pot because essentially they're air pruned to avoid the root bound. I too also in the plants that I've had through fabric pots, the roots can grow right through the bottoms of those pots. I've had good foot dangling roots on the bottom of my pots coming out of the fabric and into the tray kind of thing. Yep. So it definitely happens. Definitely happens.
Well, when you're looking at, especially with the air pruning, so to speak, when there's no air on the bottom and there's your butt chugging, or you just have a plant saucer trays and they're getting a lot of moisture down there. I've had like my green plastic plant saucer trays with roots almost stuck onto that from my fabric pot, and it just there's a lot of benefits to it, but there's also those pros and cons that come into play. I've known people in the past that use those air pots, those taller ones that are
the holes on the side.
Yeah, they look so weird, but like their plants grow like hydro, man. They're so fast, but they're watering all the fucking time. And that's the argument of like, yeah, maybe you can get aggressive roots and big roots, but if those roots are super aggressive in there and they're very thick, you're watering all the time, constantly.
I've had a couple growers mention that they more likely for pests to crawl in there, and they just had fungus gnat infestations, the worst that they've ever had.
Oh.
So they switched out of it just because of that.
Root pests, man. Ugh, that's one of the worst things too. Those are because out of sight, out of mind. Until you see them, you're like, what's wrong with my damn plant? Why is this an issue?
Right.
Then all of a sudden you put your fingers in the soil a little bit and mess things around, and all of a sudden something flies out. You're like, oh, son of a bitch! Oh, that's one of those things that it's those invisible predators, those visible issues we talked about in another episode. Plant killers that can really set you back in your garden. And so having a more open space for them to come into, that would be stupid now that I think about it. But
I've never had any root pests, so I can't really speak on it. But if either of you,
fungus gnats, if you want to consider that a root pest, I mean they
like
damage your roots, right?
Yeah, they'll eat at the sap.
And you had root aphids before.
Yeah, root aphids, I believe what they do, their worst thing is they literally will suck on the sap on the roots. So those roots are like weak and can't work through your soil, and they're not absorbing the food properly. And it gets to the point where that plant is just being almost like a termite that is just eating from the inside of your home. And slowly but surely it's just weak. And you're like, what the hell's going on? Why is this such a stressed out plant? It's to the point where a lot of people, like myself included, a lot of people would prefer underwatering than overwatering to avoid these issues. Organic soil is notorious to have little flying pests coming out of there. Just as normal little winged creatures that piss you off. But in the past, when I've had heavy limonene cultivars, lemon skunk being one of those, dude, I went to harvest and there was like 50 gnats on the bud dead.
Wow.
On it. I threw the bud away. I was
That's
so
gross.
mad. I know, it was disgusting. Like literally on it as I'm trimming, I'm like, what the fuck? Little winged nasty thing. So it's like, not only are your roots being affected, but your flowers can be affected over time too. So paying attention to any creepy crawlers that you didn't put into your soil is so important.
And what are some, like I'm literally asking because I have no idea, what are some signs a new grower would look for if they had some kind of root pest? Like a gnat or a...
Dude, I had yellowing leaves that looked like I had pH problem. I was convinced it was pH or that my soil was bad or that I was underfeeding or overfeeding. It was all of those signs that were on a chart that make you say, look at this. And it turned out, no, my plant couldn't eat properly because my roots were being damaged so hard that they were just fighting to repair themselves. So it was the on top of the plant was showing issues that none of my notes showed would have been a problem. How about you?
Yeah, and things like like I mentioned, gnats. Those fly around. Yellow stickies is typically a good way to identify that you have a problem. Is I usually always have yellow stickies in each container, one in each container. That way, if there is something flying around, at least I could catch it and kind of take action from there. It's not going to eliminate the pests, right? But it's going to use it as an identifier. And yeah, fungus gnats in particular, they just fly around the top of the soil and then thrive off a wet medium. Yeah, those things they're such a pain. But drying out the medium is an easy way to knock back the population, if not completely wipe it out. I've completely wiped out populations before just by letting the medium dry out. Between waterings a couple times for like a week straight or whatever. So it's possible.
This FTS clip was brought to you by AC Infinity, leaders in garden innovation. Use discount code TheStash15 at checkout to save some money on your own.
From the Stash Podcast. that we got to do here to get our weed ready, get our smoke ready, what do you think the first thing is we have to do?
Wash our hands.
That's a fucking great answer, Emily. And that's the correct answer. We must wash our hands. Fuck no. We ain't washing our hands. We about to do drugs.
That's always hilarious. Emily talking about washing hands. What's going on, Kelly? Good to see you. How you doing?
To our latest
I'm gonna go
TDR
check out
Cannabis
I
at
Bring
5.
Every
I am your
Day.
host, Shad Dales. Hope everyone's gearing up for the big holiday season. So again, happy holidays to you and your family on behalf of all of us here at TDR. So before we break for this holiday break, I want to touch Nelly from the Marijuana Herald reported earlier this week, and man, did we need this to change the narrative about the cannabis industry. So here's what it was. According to reporting, like I said, from the Marijuana Herald and Anthony Martinelli, President Trump has formally directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to finalize the federal rescheduling of marijuana by the end of January. So the directive instructs now the Department of Justice to complete the rulemaking process to move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under the Controlled Substances Act, and really to do so as quickly as federal law allows. So this looks like it's a priority, and now we've got some idea as far as timelines, and this is good. So for anyone new logging onto this channel, this is not legalization, but it is a significant federal acknowledgement that cannabis has accepted medical use, something the industry, patients, and state regulators have been saying for years, and I mean years. So right now, and I'll repeat this again, marijuana remains classified as a Schedule 1 substance. That's a category reserved for drugs deemed to have no accepted medical use and also a high potential for abuse. So now a move to Schedule 3 would place cannabis alongside drugs that are federally recognized as having legitimate medical applications and lower abuse potential. This was an executive order that made waves across the world last week when President Trump signed the executive order to reschedule cannabis to a Schedule 3. So now it's in the hands of Attorney General Pam Bondi, and according to the story from the Marijuana Herald, we now have a timeline that this could get signed off no later than the end of January. Again, this is great. So before we go any further into today's podcast, now a quick word from our friends over at Morgan & Morgan. There's a reason smart investors celebrate when their portfolio jumps 40% in a year, just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Think about it. When you're investing, you want the right team in your corner. The same is true if you're injured dealing with an insurance company, and that is where Morgan & Morgan comes into the equation. Why? Well, they've got more than 1,000 attorneys in over 100 offices nationwide, and they've been fighting for people for over 35 years, and their track record is hard to ignore. Case in point, in Florida, a client was offered $350,000 but walked away with $12 million. So in total, Morgan & Morgan, they've recovered more than $25 million for over 500,000 clients. Because if you're injured due to someone else's negligence, you deserve to be paid. Not all law firms are created equal, but with Morgan & Morgan, their fee is free unless they win. You can start your claim right now by clicking the link in the description below or by scanning this QR code on your screen with your phone. At the end of the day, if you want what you deserve, make sure you go in with the right team by contacting Morgan & Morgan today. All right, let's get back to the policy side now, and here is where this gets a little bit interesting. When we look back historically, whenever President Trump has signed executive orders, his cabinet has tended to move swiftly, and all current signs point to Attorney General Pam Bondi signing off on this rescheduling process within the timeline laid out in the directive. And that matters because, let's face it, timing's everything, especially when you look at the cannabis sector. So when we look back last week, we saw a notable market sell-off and sentiment cooled off quickly, which was rather disappointing. But if this timeline is indeed accurate, and if Bondi indeed is instructed to finalize rescheduling sometime in January and no later than the end of the month, then when we look at the beginning of January, it could create a very different dynamic for this sector. So this is not hype, it's no speculation, just math and behavior. We know cannabis stocks, they have been heavily suppressed for years, not just last week, and largely due to federal uncertainty, tax constraints, and limited institutional participation. So when you factor that in now with a clear federal signal with an actual deadline attached, it changes how risk is indeed evaluated. So keep note of that. So again, anyone everyone new, what does Schedule 3 actually mean in all this? Well, first, again, it would formally recognize marijuana's medical value under federal law, plain and simple. So that alone is a foundational shift. And second, and critically for operators, rescheduling could eliminate the application of IRS Section 280E. That is a tax rule that prevents cannabis businesses from deducting ordinary operating expenses. They also pay hefty corporate tax rates, north of 60% in some cases. So removing that burden can materially improve cash flow, margins, and balance sheets across the legal cannabis industry. And then third, it opens the door to medical and scientific research. Schedule 3 substances are significantly easier to study than Schedule 1 drugs. Of course they are, which could then lead to more clinical trials, better data, and eventually FDA-approved cannabis-based medicines. This is all what the future of cannabis looks like once this is indeed signed off. So you can understand the optimism that's been created in this space since this executive order was signed last week by President Trump. So even without full legalization, rescheduling makes banks, insurers, and large investors more comfortable engaging with the space. That is the facts, especially on the medical side. And when clarity replaces ambiguity, capital tends to pay attention. So pay attention here, everyone. So that doesn't mean everything changes overnight. It's a big step in the right direction. Rescheduling does not fix interstate commerce. It also doesn't automatically solve banking access, and it does not address criminal justice reform. Those issues still require congressional action or additional regulatory steps. But here's what it does do, and it shifts the conversation. So instead of asking if federal cannabis policy will move, the market starts asking how fast and who moves first. And now we have a timeline. So while last week's pullback rattled confidence, and it definitely rattled confidence, now we look at the start of the new year, and it could bring renewed interest, particularly if this January timeline holds and rescheduling is finalized as directed. Because think about it, once institutions are back from holiday season and tax law selling season is finally over, it's a brand new year. And standing in front of them is an executive order that was processed going into the holiday schedule, and now we have an end of January timeline. So things could get interesting in 2 weeks come the beginning of 2026, where many people in the space believe it's going to be a transformational year for the industry. And that is a great thing if you've been following this space for quite some time. So let's all try to process what this story might mean and how this deadline could really change the narrative. And once this is indeed signed off by Attorney General Pam Bondi, then cannabis is going to enter a whole new era. And that is a great thing. And really why many people believe in this industry that 2026 is going to be a transformational year. And you can understand why. We've got clarity. We got a timeline. So let's see what happens. In the meantime, everybody, let me know your thoughts and what you're thinking what happens beginning of 2026. Do we see some upside potential for the industry, or do you still have concerns? Is your confidence rattled? Leave your comments below. Love to get your feedback as well. Stay connected with us over this holiday break going into 2026. So make sure to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications. Ho, 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 everybody. I hope you liked the Christmas hat. And again, happy holidays from all of us here at TDR. Enjoy this holiday break. We'll see you back here in 2026. I'm your host, Shad Dales, and thanks again, everyone, for watching.
Everybody in New York was calling to get down with Mr. Nice Guy. We met all kinds of customers.
What up, B?
Like this guy here.
After B,
He's what we
good to see
call
how
an
you doing.
enhancement smoker because he thinks that marijuana makes every activity that much better.
Casa su casa.
Observe.
You're Scarface, right? Yeah. I love Al Pacino, man. Did you ever see Son of a Woman?
Yup.
You ever seen Son of a Woman on weed? That's the way to see it, man. It's just whack. $60, yo. Cool, man. I got it. Did you ever see the back of a $20 bill, man?
No, I don't know, yo.
Did you ever see the back of a $20 bill on weed? Oh, there's some weird shit in there, man. There's a dude sitting in the bushes, man. Does he have a gun? I don't know, man. I don't know. What? Red team go. Red team go. It's just some weird shit,
funny
man.
every time I see it, which is hilarious.
Oh, it's
Because I see it a lot for those who
Thanks, man.
haven't paid
Hey, yo,
attention.
wait. Dude, I'm gonna check out the stars later. It's really trippy.
Especially on weed, man. Hey, so I don't mind watching it all the time because I be on weed.
Check it out. I got a chick out of town always giving me stuff. She stayed mad as a fuck because I don't visit enough, bruh. She called me the cuss well. I don't know what it was, but something that I does got him falling in love. And now we go on the phone beefing and she crying to me. Like, you be I, you be fly, you be lying to me. True, she dying to see where I was, what happened. Study your social media, she trying to catch him. Bad bitch caught him off guard with the condom off. Let her hit, now my dick feel like it falling off sperm. When I shot him off, burning like a Molotov. Word of my mama, I'm disturbed by a lot of bra. That's where the mother son, I cut her off. Maybe she make me come a lot, but it come at a cost. I got a girl I love and I lost, we'll never reconcile. She played me like a pomp at a record, yo, check it out. Yeah.
We already did that Why is Bear Still So Strong video over on Spider Pig, over on Super Saturday. Y'all know we do Super Saturdays before we go live over here on Team TWC with TWP Popcorn. You dig? It's called a schedule. Y'all got to get used to it. But anyways, speaking of other things you need to get used to, we're going to probably be switching over to doing Rumble videos. And then I'll have one YouTube live by itself video day. I'm not sure which day that's going to be each week, but expect that coming up because that way I still have shorts and highlights for YouTube, but I'm going to be live more on Rumble Studios. Shouts out to using the studios more because that's what's going to be for 2026 for the most part. You dig? Shouts out to having plans for the year because, we got things we're trying to do over here. You see what I'm saying? This is the Rumble, for those who don't know, because we go get views on Rumble. Yeah, I didn't post this morning's Spider Pig video yet, but I will be doing that as soon as I get this video ready to upload and post so I can do them both at the same time on 2 different tabs, right? Right. Yeah, see, why would I wait for one when I can post them both? Then we'll see which one gets finished first. It'll probably be Spider Pig video because it might be a little shorter, it might be a little longer. I don't know, you might have to tell me. But, we had some things to work up on coming for the Rumble side because, we was looking at our stats and analytics because we appreciate having the analytical side of the game to be looking at too, right? Yeah, because it says I made 4 cents this month. Shout out to making that 4 cents. That's better than nothing, right? Something's better than nothing. So when you said I ain't did nothing, I can still show you something. It's 0.04. What's that mean? I could have did more, I could have did less, but I did something, motherfuckers. Gotta appreciate that. December is moving though, because it's already over. 2026, we gonna go right back and do the same thing all over again. Are you? Not really, because we got different things to do this year. We got the beat after beat over here laughing. You know how we do, because we got shit good. I mean, it's cracking somewhat, but hell, you know how we are as far as our content. Our content's doing something because we doing something. Got to do something. And then I think they do still have their referral program active. So if you get somebody to start using Rumble, you can make some extra ducats for that. I haven't had any myself this month, but we've had a history of getting referrals, as y'all see down at the bottom, and we've already got them. Yeah, we done referred a couple people. See, yeah, get you on, get yourself together. Anyways, definitely copy the Rumble referral link. Copy that. Get yourself in there. Be looking like, okay, I do get referrals. Yeah, I signed up for that program a while back. Like I said, that's why we'll be in the studio more to get more of them, right? Right. Then again, let's see. We had our Buy Me a Coffee available. Y'all know to go check out the Buy Me a Coffee to get the support that we go over there, because we go hard with the Buy Me a Coffee. It ain't all pay to play. We do have plenty of freebies for y'all to get, so we suggest y'all go get them. Let's see. It says we've had our payouts and all that good stuff. I did just get paid this week, so the last week of December, I made sure I collected my money. Just send me my money. Yeah, just, because you can go on there and have it set up to auto pay, or you can be like how I am and just pick what day of the week that you want to get paid on. Oh, let's see, it's Monday. Well, they pay you on Wednesday, so technically, as long as you put it in Monday, you can be paid Wednesday. So, whatever you want to cash out. Oh, this looks like an amount that I want in a check. I'll go ahead and send that to the account type deal, because that's what you do. You just go over there and send it on its way. But like I said, y'all know we got our Buy Me a Coffee cracking. Support over there. Make sure y'all go pick up the freebies, because that way you might be gifted a membership, and as you see, there's gonna be things over there you might want to interact with. Shout out to Coach Sherry. She's definitely a member. I appreciate that. Got coaches and mentors out here. So when you wonder why I be talking about coaching and mentoring, because we actually do that around here. You dig? I tell you, I can give you some advice and put you in the game, man. I ain't just came up with nothing for nothing. I came up with something for some Thaniels. Y'all know to definitely hit up all parts of the Buy Me a Coffee, because we got stuff everywhere. We got the membership set up. We got posts, plenty of pictures in our gallery. Our extras is where you can start getting the freebies. That's where you see it's a couple of them in here. That's free. That's free. That's free. And we got some products and services in there, but then we also do have you some freebies. So do go collect the freebies. And then we can talk about other things elsewhere, right? You know how we do. 2025, finna be 2026. Keeping it popping out here with the Buy Me a Coffee, because we do instant YouTube and content monetization. Because, whatever we do, we want the people to be able to support it however they want to support us. Oh, you like that product? Well, come through and buy one. Here's a good, free, easy place to go do that. That's the Buy Me a Coffee. And guess what? You see me on YouTube because you was watching videos about stuff you liked. So apparently I'm in your algorithm now. So to keep me in your algorithm, keep me in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and buy them products you saw in the video, because we got them on our Buy Me a Coffee type shit. But that's for the people that know what they doing out here. We ain't got to do too much about that, because Buy Me a Coffee also has a great referral program. You donate to somebody and it's their first coffee, you done bought them a coffee. And you get the extras. You dig? Then when you tell somebody else to use it, then they'll get the extras. Hell, you pass it around. It's a good time and a good vibe for everybody. But y'all know how we are. I got more videos to do tomorrow. And like I said, we in our side note playlist for 2026. It's already on and cracking, because ain't no point in waiting, right?